Now, let me just say this before I start this video. This is something that I did not want to click. I am not a Morphologis fan. I'm just not. And you know what? Everybody has their own specific tastes. He does edit great. He edits his videos wonderfully. But I find myself often disagreeing with his commentary. And I'm sure, likewise, he does too, but he probably doesn't even watch the channel or take the time out to watch anything that I'm making. But, like, it doesn't matter because, like, really, I don't have the drive to watch or the curiosity, or what am I trying to say? The reason to watch Morphologis videos. I feel a lot of it can kind of be clickbaity. I do like his architect reviews. I know that he's a nice person helping out in his personal life, helping out Erad with Star Atlas and Michael Wagner. I know he's done a lot of great things. And I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm really not. I am naturally an asshole. This just is a natural thing with me. When Morphologis talks about 2022 not being Star Citizen's year, I wholeheartedly disagree. I've talked about that a lot on the channel. When Morphologis gives his opinions on PvP, especially with the A2 drama, I wholeheartedly disagree with him. I don't think that's his area of expertise. In fact, I know that this whole A2 drama was really interesting to me because apparently Hangry Sarah, which I really like, she's a very real person, said, "Oi, Ash, did you send DJ already the video of Morph's team using the A2 to take Jumptown the day prior to the whole A2 drama?" So it sounds to me, and I can't confirm that this is the truth or not, or what's happening. Hangry Sarah, I would imagine, is not a person who I would call a liar. She seems like a very nice person, but it sounds to me like what happened prior, and I don't know if Morphologis was part of this, but apparently Morph's team actually did, in fact, do the same thing the day before what Morph had a conniption over, which is, you know, suicide bomb. It was later found out that the man wasn't even suicide bombing. He was just flying the A2 and ran it into it was a flying mishap. So I would like to see that. I don't know where that content is. Hangry Sarah making me aware of that. But we're talking about the $500 million that Cloud Imperium has brought in. And to me, this is a major thing that has happened in the game industry, bringing in $500 million of revenue from the people that play the game. I think we did the numbers, and we figured out that like a little over 80% of the revenue brought in is through the sale, the ship sales, or pledging. I call them ship sales. Let's call it what it is. But the other 20% brought in through subscription revenue, through VC, venture capitalist revenue, like the Calders and those other things. We did the math on that one time when we were breaking down a P&L before, but somewhere around 400 million of the 500 million was from ship sales. Maybe a little bit more. Might be a little bit more than that. A lot of people pass over that accomplishment. Like, a lot of people aren't registering like what a big deal that is. A lot of people will have the narrative that it is a terrible thing, that what a corporation trying to make money is terrible. You know, like, oh no, capitalism. Oh no, can you believe that they're selling a Legatus package for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and people are buying it? And, you know, my response to that is that most of us are not children. Most of us are not duped. But the narrative out there, and I don't know if Morphologis even talks about this, but the narrative out there is that we aren't grown-ups, that we can't spend our money, we don't know what we're spending our money on. Or the other narrative is that everybody's being duped and we're all fools for buying these things. And, you know, while I can't justify spending $30, $20, $10,000, $5,000, $1,000, I can't justify it, but I still appreciate the project. There's a lot of content creators out there that are putting this narrative out there that there are a lot of stupid people out there that can't be rational, or that there's a lot of addicted people, that there's a lot. And, you know, that's a serious problem. That happens. That's out there. But, you know, Cloud Imperium at the end of the day is a corporation, and they sell what they sell because capitalism. the market will pay it if they will put whatever sticker they want on these things. And if they get paid on it, right? Well, I guess the market can support it. I guess that there is demand out there. And I don't know if there should be shaming for that. I mean, this has happened since the beginning of capitalism. This is just a normal thing that happens. An everyday normal thing that happens. Now, I know I'm long-winded here. And, you know, I think this is a good topic of discussion because I don't hear this counter narrative that we're adults. I don't hear it. I don't hear it from a lot of people. But 500 million? Wow. That I personally think should be celebrated. That makes me sound corpo, right? I'm so sorry. But like what that means to me is that the more money they're bringing in, the more successful they are. And the more successful they are, the sooner we will have the game. Now, there's a lot of people who are upset. It's taken so long. It's taken so long. And it reminds me of a child sitting in the backseat of a car saying, are we there yet? We all know the scale of Star Citizen is huge. It's large. What the game's going to offer you, which is the experience of almost every gameplay, terms of gameplay design, what it's going to offer you is just about every level of gameplay mechanic that there is out there, and they're putting it all in one game. And that is one of the cornerstones or pillars of why they have brought in 500 million. And yet people kind of tend to forget that. So let us just watch and let us see what Morphologis has to say.
It's happened. $500 million in funding, or $500 million put another way, has gone into the now infamous Project Star Citizen. Cue countless articles, 500 million and still no release, game, whatever, something, something, so on and so forth. And while those articles are certainly tired, old, and probably recycled word for word, their message is probably still quite valid. It is undeniable that Star Citizen is still not out, and the subsequent questions that it begs, like what's taking so long, are also equally as relevant today as they were before. But wait, all
right.
Time viewer chads might say, didn't you already make a video on this? I did, like...
He did, and it was, I think, around 300 million, right? And I'm not saying Morphologis is guilty of this, but I know that there's a lot of other content creators that will make you feel like between 300 million and 500 million, nothing has happened. And that should be shamed. That should be shamed.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
Just because the progress is slow does not mean that the progress is not happening, you know? So let's see what Morphologis has to say about this.
3 years ago when SC passed $300 million, and that video still applies to today's question, which is why I recommend you pause this video and watch that first and then come back, because this video is going to be, in a sense, part 2, where I'd like to build on the previous video with an exploration of how modern expectations of games have rapidly evolved this side of the 21st century, brought on by incredible improvements to hardware and software capabilities, and how these have fundamentally changed the required length of development cycles for large-scope open-world games like Star Citizen. So, I hope you'll join me on this journey, and if along the way you think I did a good job, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button to show your support. But one other way you might be able to take a journey right after this video is through the generous sponsor of today's video, Audible.
Oh, come on. Come on. Come on. How long is the fucking shill for? Hold on. Fucking A.
I really hope I can finish this soon. I really want to do a video on it.
So do we.
So before you go and binge watch the Rings of Power series on Prime, be sure to check out the Lord of the Rings content on Audible by heading on over to audible.com/LOTR or text LOTR to 500 500 and get the Fellowship of the Rings for free and start your 30-day free Audible trial membership. If the Lord of the Rings isn't for you though, you can always check out any number of one of their other fantastic audiobooks like The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan, with the one credit you'll get towards any audiobook every month as a member.
Like what the fuck? Like really? Like we had from 1 minute and 28 seconds to it's a minute. It's a minute of shill, which is too much. It's just too much shill for me. but it's okay. I mean, like, he's a content creator trying to make it. I know how hard this shit is. I'm not getting paid anything on YouTube. I'm sure he is, but I'm not. And so, like, if he wants to show a little bit to get that extra cash, you know, whatever. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that. I don't like content. Like, here's the one thing about anybody, not just Morph. I don't like it. I don't like that. It's one thing. You know what? I'm making a pledge to all of you. The bigger I get, I will never do that. Can I get some applause on that? I don't think anybody's ever made that pledge. Clip it, and put it in perpetuity. Put it in forever. I won't ever do that. Ever. I promise you. Never. I'm absolutely sure. I don't even have to think about it. It's something I will never do.
So let me just cut straight to the point.
It's too much fucking effort to skip, you know?
The general gist of what's happened over these past 20 years is that there's been a push correlationship between technology and game engines, which has created a kind of feedback.
I won't, James. I won't ever do it, dude.
Entrepreneurial developers push what's possible, which encourages hardware manufacturers to chase even more speed, which then in turn enables developers to push even further. Consumers.
Chrono liking that announcement. Oh, Luigi gifted to Chrono. Thank you, Luigi. Luigi loving that comment. Thank you, Luigi. I'm not saying it's, you know, I'm not saying it's like, oh, shame on you, but yeah, I don't like it. I just don't like it. But it's part of the whole fucking thing. But I never would do that. I hate that shit.
Like us also play a big role in this, adding fuel to the fire as developers jostle and fight for consumer attention in a virtual arms race for who can make the best looking, most complete, detailed, immersive, and of course, most fun experience. While there are certainly outliers whose gameplay outweigh low poly stylized visuals, generally speaking, the trajectory of graphics has been to continually improve year on year. I suspect though that it's not going to be a surprise to any of you that games have been visually improving year on year. It's no revelation. What I instead want to emphasize here is the less well understood and often overlooked cost of this loop in terms of development time and the resulting financial burden on studios, which is what I suspect has played a major role in inflating development time with Star Citizen and other similarly large-scope open-world game titles like Cyberpunk or GTA.
See, I'm not that unreasonable. You know, like, that was a rational thing to say, and I agree with Morphologis on that. You know, can I have an applause for being a rational human being and not just, like, a lot of people get angry with me. Like, I think mostly fanboys of Morphologis, you know, and I understand that, where people need to feel part of something, you know, and they're part of the Morph fanboy group. But like, a lot of people get angry with me and they're, oh, you're just jealous. Oh, you're no, it's just, I want to hear rational things. When Morph said that, I agree. It's rational. There we go. You know, that's as simple as it is. People get so mad at me. They think I'm Morph bashing. I'm just reacting to commentary. I'm just reacting to opinions. It has nothing to do with Morph himself.
6. Let me try to explain. As our computers have become more and more powerful, enabling developers to create more, that additional content and space that they create has required more and more effort to create. Let me give you a rather extreme example. You might have heard of a game called Half-Life, released some 20 years ago now in 1998 by Valve and Gabe Newell, the founder of Steam. It's widely regarded as one of the best first-person shooters of all time, having, in the words of one reviewer, been the closest thing to a revolutionary step the genre has ever taken. Its levels were the largest and most detailed yet. The AI was the most advanced, and the game mechanics were revolutionary, introducing things like player movable entities like boxes and cars. The graphics even melted computers at the time. All of this took 30 developers a span of 2 years to complete. Just 2 years. To create the game of the year from a studio that was regarded as massive and industry leading. Now let's fast forward to today.
I mean, do we have to go back and state just how hard it was in those days to create something like that? I mean, like, I need to see some data. I need to see, like, the proof that in fact that what the technologies that they were working with back then, you know, the amount of time could have been shortened because of the tech that was available back then. I mean, the counterpoint to that was, or is that, you know, perhaps the tech was available. It could have been done faster in those days than it can now. I mean, certainly there could be some rationality to what I'm saying right there, you know?
A single modeled entity or surface in Star Citizen has more geometry than an entire level budget in Half-Life.
I mean, it was low tech. It's low tech now looking back on it, but it could have been very high tech back then. But then again, we have to talk about, you know, what technological hurdles did Half-Life have and the developers have back then? I mean, we just kind of skipped over that. Perhaps like we can look something up and look at, you know, what technical hurdles that they were dealing with when creating Half-Life. Were they as extreme? Were they trying to encompass the scale that Star Citizen is? I don't know. I would say no. There's a lot of things in Half-Life that are not reflective of, I don't think that's a good analogy. I don't think using Half-Life as the example is a good analogy at all. I don't, because there's a lot of things missing from Half-Life in terms of game design that were never planned in Half-Life that are in Star Citizen. But yet that's just kind of skipped over for him to prove his point, and I don't agree. I don't agree.
A 4K texture that wraps an entity in Star Citizen has a larger file size than nearly half the game, the entire game size of 250 megabytes back in 1998. The difference in size and quality then is simply staggering. And while the scale and effort certainly isn't one-to-one thanks to better tools that allow developers
definitely
to work
not
faster and better.
By the way, definitely not one-to-one. You know, like let's not underscore that. Let's not simplicate that. They're definitely not one-to-one.
The effort isn't extremely far from one-to-one. Simply put, with more detail and game size enabled by better technology has come in parallel with it more time and investment required on the part of developers to realize it.
Yes.
This has exponentially increased the development hours needed for games, which is why development studios have blown up in size.
But why is that a bad thing? I mean, it's going to take time. I mean, my argument is this. It's going to be done when it's going to be done because of exactly what he's talking about. You know, like this is not something that's going to just be pumped out. It never was. I mean, from its very inception, when everybody started to vote on Kickstarter for these goals, for these step goals, where like everything was like, yes, yes, yes. Do you want this? Yes. Do you want this? Yes. Do you want this? Yes. The people are the ones that decided it. We are the reason why it's taking so long, but nobody's, we're not culpable? Like nobody's taking accountability? Like why aren't we taking accountability? If we're adults, why aren't we saying that we are the reason that it's taking so long? Okay? And so therefore, for me, it's going to be done when it's going to be done. And I get so frustrated at this type of content. And others out there that play on your emotions, that bring in those clicks that help pay these guys. Like, these guys are just bringing you in, and they're like, oh, it's going to take forever. It's going to take so long. Why isn't it out yet? Like, what other fucking clickbait titles can you fucking fathom up? Because they're out there. There's a lot of content creators that are getting that fucking clickbait money because they're jumping on this bandwagon. Morph isn't the first, and he won't be the last to come up with content like this where he's bringing in the clicks, and he knows what he's doing. Like, he knows what, at least Morph is trying to break it down so that people are understanding the development of the game. Again, I don't like this Half-Life Star Citizen comparison. I think that's faulty. But, like, I get mad at the fact that the content creators are preying off of fucking people. They're just like, oh, here, why is it taking so long? Wow, oh my God. And I don't know if I'm okay with the explanation here, but let's keep going.
Back in the days of Half-Life, a single developer might oversee an entire game level start to finish, realizing their work all the way to gold standard in just a couple of months. Now there are entire teams dedicated to just a singular aspect of a level's design, like trees or trash on the ground. As a result, AAA studios have gone from 30 developers to thousands of developers across the world, working virtually 24/7, all needing to wear different hats and have different unique specializations that didn't even exist when Half-Life came out.
New video,
so
Luigi.
a AAA game which would once take thousands of man-hours to complete in a typical game development cycle.
And it's the fucking echo chamber that kills me, Limitless, you're right. And then somebody sees Morph do this, and then they do it, and it's just like a fucking endless echo chamber of the same fucking bullshit, and people still click it, man. It's like, why click this shit? Can we just be adults and just understand the scope of this motherfucking thing and the technological hurdles of this fucking thing and realize it's going to take so long? Does that mean I'm just bending over and taking it up the anus by the corpos? No. What it means is I realize what it is that we're in. And if you're upset, then move on to another fucking game. It's as simple as that, man. It's not a fucking big issue to me. It's not a big issue to me. It'll be done when it gets done. If you're what's taking so long? What's taking so long? Is it done yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Dudes, like, just fucking play another game. Like, if you're that upset about it, take a chill pill, go outside, take a fucking walk. It should not be something that, like, you know.
Now takes tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of man-hours, even the
Salad
lifetime
vibes.
of a single human
Salad vibes.
just to complete. This problem has become especially true for games like Star Citizen that started...
Incoming salad vibes.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it now. I'm feeling the salad vibes. I'm feeling it.
development for their open world genre sometime around 10 years ago, because technology for GPUs, memory, and storage capacities have rapidly improved over these past 10 years. CPUs are now 210% or more faster than when CIG first started on Star Citizen, which has enabled worlds to go from just a couple square kilometers to literally entire star systems. Once upon a time, it was sufficient to only model and texture what the player would experience for a story, employing smoke and mirrors to make it seem like a space continued, or that, you were actually on a fully large realized ship. Now it's expected that every room can be explored and will be detailed and relevant and worth a player's time to experience. And that's because it's been demonstrated that it's possible. Thus, it's become demanded and expected by gamers for them to consider the game's graphics and experience the very best. In a recent Star Citizen Live interview with John Crew, basically the head guy responsible over at Star Citizen for leading ship design, put into perspective just how much time it takes to create even a...
It takes a lot of motherfucking time, you impatient motherfucking children. Like... Oh, and then everybody just feeds into it by clicking these motherfucking videos. What's taking so long? There are so many fucking children out there. It is crazy. It is fucking crazy. It's going to get done when it fucking gets done. Like, are there still people out there that think that this is a fucking scam? I mean, like, really? They're actually, they're one of the most transparent game developers out there. They came from nothing, and now they've got like nearly, what are they at now? How many employees are they at now? I lost track after 600. I don't even know where they're at on employees. I know they have 5 locations. Are they near 1,000 employees now? And there's still people out there that think that this is a scam and it's an actual business model. They brought in $500 million. People still think this is a fucking scam. People are still, there are legitimate concerns in server meshing. That is your biggest technical hurdle right now. Benoit Bessager from Turbulent is on it. I have faith in Benoit Bessager. If you saw him on the episode of the Inside Star Citizen 2 episodes ago, you have seen that in the span of 2 years since we saw him last and we see him now, Benoit Bessager has aged 35 motherfucking years. Okay, he is old man status right now. Literally the amount of work that has put in to server meshing and solving this problem of persistence has shown 35 years worth of aging in the span of 2 motherfucking years. So I know that there's work being done. Will they do it? That's the real question. Will they? That is what the question. Because the what's taking so long, the server meshing, motherfuckers, the technical hurdle, that is a legitimate question. So Why don't we get people from Cloud Imperium on here who can create content in a digestible way where we're not wanting to fucking vomit after watching it, and we can get these Cloud Imperium employees on there like Benoit and like just go down the fucking rabbit hole and, you know, and make it understandable to the average gamer, okay? Like, let us just get real here, man. Like, you want bitching about Cloud Imperium? Here's the bitch. Let's get on the people that are most important to solving our problems that are the reason why it's taking so long. Let's look at the technical hurdles that are in the way and have those people on as much as possible. Maybe we could get rid of this fucking shit and this clickbaity shit.
Single ship. In this case, it was the Polaris, which is a capital ship. He explained that it would take approximately a whole year for a team to work on. A year.
Yeah, it takes a year, okay? It takes a year. And you know what? They have enough ships right now, right? They have enough ships. Here's the argument. Well, they have enough ships, DJ, so they just need to stop. They're real people collecting real paychecks. It's real game development. They need to eat real food. And so they have to make these ships. They have to continue making these ships. Do people not understand? This will never stop. And I thank God, I hope it never does. It's going to keep bringing in revenue so they can keep paying people, so they can keep growing as a business model, and they can get us there. But really the problem are the technical hurdles, man. The server meshing, man. The things that we absolutely need that aren't here yet. Because they're fucking working on it. And it will get done when it gets done.
But think back to what I've just discussed, and I think now you might begin to understand just why it would take an entire team so long to develop a ship like the Polaris, whose single room might have an equal level of geometry and complexity to an entire level of a game just 5 to 10 years ago. Where I think Star Citizen and other notable titles like Cyberpunk have made mistakes, resulting in pushed release dates and delays and under-delivery, is in a lack of fully understanding just how much more effort would be required. To be fair though here to them, hardly anyone did or could have. My critique now benefits from perfect 2020 hindsight, and unfortunately it's also just the cost of trying to be a leader in the industry pushing new technologies that push the envelope. It certainly doesn't help though that the visuals of single-player games and even limited multiplayer experiences with narrow scopes are often compared by gamers to these open-world titles. But really, they can't be blamed for not knowing just how much more effort is involved for the latter for game devs. For example,
listen, because a lot of people don't want to waste the fucking time and effort like most of us here on trying to understand the gaming industry. Listen, there are a lot of people that are involved with Star Citizen, a lot of fans, a lot of gamers, and that actually got. The cool thing about all this is that Cloud Imperium is so transparent that a lot of people that have pledged, that have bought these ships, have actually become involved with the process, the game development process. And a lot of them think that they're fucking professionals, and they are not. And that includes a lot of content creators too. It's not an easy thing to do. This is a monumental task what Cloud Imperium is trying to do.
I once saw someone comment how much better Destiny 2's Europa looked next to Star Citizen's planets. The reality is that it's not a planet, but a limited play area with a convincing skybox that allows developers to spend more time on that limited area to bring it up to a higher level of detail. The amount of effort required on Star Citizen's part to make the same or similar experience was far greater due to that open world nature. So to be clear here, what I'm trying to say and what I want you to take.
All right. Here's what he's trying to say. This is, I think, the most important part of the video. Let's watch.
Take away from this isn't that I'm making excuses for Star Citizen or CIG. They've clearly struggled with communicating accurate timelines and expectations, and they've certainly made some managerial mistakes and poor decisions in hindsight.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like any fledgling business does when they start. In terms of business, 10 years is a blink of an eye. It's nothing to even look at. 10 years to get, they have made tons of mistakes. I've covered them. I was bitching about them. I was saying, what the fuck is Cloud Imperium doing in 2015 and 2016 and 2017? I always looked at the business model. I said, what the fuck are they doing? But they did it. Or they're doing it. They could slip again. But right now they're killing it. Cloud Imperium is killing it right now. And like, let's just take a fucking breath and not fall under this false narrative like Cloud Imperium is some evil empire trying to steal your money so that they can fucking go on expensive yachts and buy like luxury vacation homes and shit. You know what? I don't give a fuck what they do with the money. Let them do whatever the fuck they want to do with the money. And if they make a mistake, hold them accountable for it. It's as simple as that. It's what anybody does in public-based companies on the New York Stock Exchange, man. It's a quarterly conference call. You get to see what the fuck's going on. Cloud Imperium doesn't even have to put their fucking data out there on the U.S. side of things. They're a private company. They're not publicly listed. The only way we can get an accurate read of what's going on financially is over on the other side of the pond in England, because all businesses have to report publicly, and they didn't have to post anything on the American side. They didn't have to post anything because they're a private business over here, and the laws don't require companies that are private to post publicly. And yet what? Cloud Imperium still posted all their numbers transparently, and I think we had a lot to do with that. I think our channel had a lot to do with that because I was focusing. I was one of the very few, if not the first, that would focus on the numbers, on the financials. I got a whole playlist devoted to SIG and the business side of things. I think I got like 20 videos in the playlist. Watch it. Look at how we break down the numbers. For years, I was banging the table, pissed off. Like, they need to post these. They need to put the numbers out. We were guessing. We were shooting in the dark. And then I think after so many of the videos I had done, somebody over there said, hey, fuck it. Let's post these things out. Let's put our numbers public. And that was a big thing. And that deserves some fucking applause. And some people would say, oh, but DG, those are fake. Those numbers are fake. They would be really stupid to do that as a business. If they did that, they're liable and they could get sued hard. So they wouldn't do that. Their lawyers would definitely advise against that. So I think that there's some credence in those numbers being actually reliable. Those are viable numbers. And they did great. They posted one of their first profits that was pretty big. I think, what was it, 6 or 7 million? And that's healthy. That's good. And so that made me feel like, hey, you know what? I feel like they're taking a step in the right direction. Their business model, it's banging. And 500 million shouldn't be looked at like, if you're somebody who wants this game to be finished, if you're somebody who supports this project and what it's trying to do and really wants a game that's going to offer you just about every style of gameplay, I think you should like applause the 500 million. I don't think you should look at them like, you know, I think that's clickbaity. I think the second that I see this, like, it's okay to point a finger if they're accountable for shit that, you know, it's like, dudes, what you're doing is scamazi. But like, I'm way past scamaz. I don't see any other developer be as transparent and do it in such a good, consistent way. Sometimes, yeah, the Inside Star Citizen's horrible. Sometimes there's some episodes where I'm like, oof, like this is terrible. You know, on the Inside Star Citizen review, we watch them. I'm like, oh my god. But like, at least they're trying. You can't say that a lot about a lot of other developers. And a lot of other developers, when they try, they make no connection to the gamer. And I have to say that Cloud Imperium has made this connection. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the $500 million brought in, and yet nobody talks about this. Have you guys seen anybody? Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever heard anybody talk like this. And you know what the crazy thing, if you've never heard anybody say what I'm saying, put a 1 in the chat right now. I don't think I've heard any content creators talk like this. And a lot of content creators out there always go with like, it's taking forever. The Star Citizen's a scam. And you know, they never ever like put things in perspective. It's all very clickbaity. It's all very clickbaity. Oh, DG, you're a white knight. No, I just understand game development. I mean, like, it's as simple as that. It's really that simple. It's really going to take a long time, guys. It's going to take a long time. Okay? And if you get frustrated, go outside, play another game, come back to it later. Nobody's forcing you, right? And all content creators that are doing these types of things, I don't know if it's coming from a genuinely good place where it's like they're actually passionate about what it is that they're involved in. Sometimes, like if it's done in a constructive way, if it's like constructive criticism, and it's done in a way that's rational, and I think that's what Morphologis is trying to do, it just doesn't connect with me. It just doesn't connect with me, and that's just like a personal preference, you know?
Insight. No, instead, what I hope is gained from this is a better understanding of why and how game development for a project like Star Citizen has grown so incredibly complex and expensive.
Yep.
I strongly suspect that Star Citizen's crown for being the most expensive game ever may soon be toppled by the likes of GTA 6 and other upcoming big open world games with similarly large scope.
Of course.
500 million then, I think, is likely not going to become the exception,
right,
but rather the norm.
I agree.
So
rational.
I hope you guys have gained
that was a rational statement. That was a rational statement. Like, I agree with that.
A little bit of insight. And if you have, let me know down in the comment section below what your thoughts are on this topic. You kind of get what I'm putting down about how things have become far more complex, requiring more time and thus effort and money to create? Is it easier to understand why Star Citizen is taking so long and why it's so expensive? Let me know. And don't forget, if you wanted to check out the Lord of the Rings audiobook over on...
No, we don't, Morph. No, we don't. By the way, never mind. Listen. All right. I can't. I have a headache. I can't, honey. I have a headache.